Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career, with a little self-help along the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's Philip Wilkerson back with another episode of Positive Philter. I'm joined by a special guest. Everyone's just a special guest to me. I'm joined by the good brother LeVar Crooms. Now, if you know, I always, this is a new tradition. I do on my show, A Positive Philter. I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I always make a point to include the brother of the year of my current and local chapter, which is Theta Rho Lambda. And so this has been a long time coming. This brother has been awarded Brother of the Year in Theta Rho Lambda, which is our chapter in Alexandria, Arlington, during the pandemic. And we said we're going to get on an episode and talk about your experience in Alpha and what it means to you, because I always want to interview the Brother of the Year. But before we get started, Brother LeVar, can you give the listeners a little bit of background about who you are?
Phil, thanks for having me. Very appreciative of the brothers at Theta Rho Lambda for electing me Brother of the Year. I was honored. Never joined this fraternity for a title. And honestly, I give it to you if you ask for it.
Okay, I'll take it.
Because I can't take it to work and get a raise with it. And I can't pay my dues with it. But no, I'm humbled, I'm honored, and appreciative. So LeVar Crooms from Beaufort, North Carolina. Grew up the beach. Parents moved to Raleigh when I was 13, so Raleigh's been home since then. Since about 97. Went to Johnson C. Smith University, where I had the opportunity to pledge the greatest fraternity in the world, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, the 36 House Alpha Omicron chapter, the mother chapter of the Carolinas. Spring 2005, I was a deuce. 2 wonderful LBs. Shout out to those guys. Queens, West Philly, in the building. But that's me in a nutshell. I'm a vice president, commercial real estate finance division at M&T Bank. I've been in banking for the last 15 years. Currently financing downtown high rises. So fun job. It's been a bit of a struggle the last year through the pandemic, but for the most part, my job is to go to construction sites and shake hands with construction workers and superintendents, and occasionally golf. So
there you go.
So good life.
I love it. So, LeVar, I look up to you, but, going back to the origin story, you said you're from North Carolina, somewhat near the Outer Banks. Take us to the original journey about going to college. Like, why Johnson C. Smith? And how did that develop?
So, technically, where I grew up is the bottom of the Outer Banks. We never viewed it that way because we have our own coastline. And we didn't get those tourists. So it's a cool place. My parents moved to Raleigh, and it was the day before I went to 9th grade. We literally packed up from Beaufort on a Sunday. We pulled up in Raleigh Sunday night. We slept on the floor because there was no furniture yet. The next morning we woke up and registered, and I was off to classes. But it was a good time in Raleigh because it was a change of pace from Beaufort. I actually had a track coach my senior year who attended Johnson C. Smith University and also pledged the greatest chapter in the world, Alpha Omicron chapter, Johnson C. Smith. Didn't know this then, but he encouraged me to consider Johnson C. Smith University. And it just so happened that the running backs coach came and visited my high school and recruited me to play football there. So it was an easy connection for me. I had a guy who I loved and respected dearly, Maurice Moore. Still to this day, highly respect him. If I ever get rich, I owe him at least $1 million because he changed my life. I was definitely on the path to not going to college. And he did some things for me that I can't even name on this podcast.
Okay.
But he made magic happen for me, and I ended up in college, so I'm appreciative of him.
All right, so 2.5 to 4.0. There you go. All right. So I love it. And you know, we had that connection. You know that my grandfather went to Johnson C. Smith, which is small world.
Good man.
He picked a different path. He became a member of Kappa.
Shout out to AE. It's all
Yes.
right. I like the AE Kappas.
So
they cool.
So you're there. You're at Johnson C. Smith. Take us through the story of you getting connected with the brothers and like, what was that like? Like, and we didn't talk about that earlier. Did you have, besides your track coach, did you have other people that had like influenced you that were alphas? Like, take us to that moment on college campus.
Man, it's crazy because I didn't know anything about fraternities and sororities growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything about fraternities and sororities until I got to college. And I had no interest in joining one, actually. I played football, so I was a jock, and I guess people thought I should have been an Omega. However, I didn't like some of the examples that I saw during homecoming. Now, I had some really cool Omegas that I still got a lot of love for to this day. I play football with cool guys, Bobby, Shamik, shout out to you guys. But some of the guys I played football with also became alphas. Shout out K9 and some of the other guys. And that our school is a small school, 1,500 people at the most. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna touch some part of Greek life whether you want to or not. And it just so happened to me that across the hall from me, if I open my door, I walk into the door of my RA who became an alpha my first year in college. Okay. And it just so happened that some of the people that he pledged with that was on his line were some of the upperclassmen that I got cool with. And it just, it just little things just naturally started happening and shaping me and molding me and pushing me in that direction. It wasn't until my senior year that I decided to step up and take on that challenge. And by that time, the guys who I did look up to, like EJ, Eric Chapman, my pro fight, shout out. He was on SGA. I wanted to be on SGA because of him. He and I toured dormitory my junior year, his senior year while he was on SGA. And I was like, man, he's making a difference. I like that. And we're still cool to this day. He lives up here in Crofton, I believe. And then people like my pro fight, Tyrell Hughes, my dean, Frederick Ingram. We all came in together. We stayed in listening hall together. One way or another, I always ended up chopping it up with them. And just over the years, it's just who you gravitated towards. And we were all friends before anybody became an alpha. And to this day, I still consider them a friend before I consider them a brother. Because our relationship supersedes Alpha Phi Alpha. Like, I'm real life cool with you. When Ty's mom passed, I felt that. That's a big deal to him. That's a bigger deal to me. That's my brother outside of Alpha. In Alpha, we do our thing. We all have our different areas that we contribute, that we hang. But in life in general, I consider them brothers and friends. My ADP at the time, Walter Tucker, younger than me, he's my older brother in Alpha. He feels like my younger brother in real life. And then shout out to my pro fight Jermaine Shepard as well. Another guy who's older than me in Alpha, but in real life, he kind of feels like a younger brother. But all those guys were people who I knew, who I admired, and I respected. They were the guys moving and shaking on campus. Mm-hmm. They were the epitome of Alpha Phi Alpha in my perspective. They were the guys who, take one of them and it equals 5 of this. Okay. They did the work of 10 men. They kept the chapter small, but they were everywhere and they did everything. And it was just like, how is this always possible? But that, to me, was my first introduction to what an alpha man is.
I love it. And so, as people, I love this and I love the perspective. I've had other brothers of the year on this, Mark Peters and Shannon, and they had the same examples of where they weren't really raised in Greek life, but they organically met other people. But when was the moment where, like, whether it was learning history or going to learning the chapter's history, where it was like, yo, this is something I really like concretely, like after the information session or whatever you want to call it, like, I want to be a part of this. This is something like, wow, this is amazing. Like, take us through that.
Man, so I only went to. I'm trying to think how many probates I actually went to in college.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I went to historically black
Yeah.
college, so it's probates every semester. I remember hearing stories about probates, like my freshman year, I think it was like 83 deltas that came out. I think they called it 83 tragedies. But I actually only went to like 4 probates before I was an alpha. One, shout out to Bobby and Shamik when they crossed Omegas, because football team, we all knew what was going on and we all showed up, and it was hilarious, funniest probate ever. I went to my RA Chris's probate, my first introduction to Alpha. That's where I saw some of my pro fights now, people I looked up to back then, like Black, Pun. I went to Fred's probate because he was my friend, and I knew how bad he wanted it freshman year. Fred came in school on it. He was like, yo, they all want me. I'm hot. I was like, what are you talking about? I have no clue what you're talking about. He's like, yo, this one pulled me this way, this one pulled me that way. He always knew he wanted to be an alpha, though. And then I went to Tyrell and Jermaine and Walter's probate. So I only went to 4, and 3 of them were alphas. And it was natural for me. Like I said, if I'm going to associate with any of these guys, it's going to be the guys I already associate with. Mm-hmm. Now the history and everything on top of that was just more. It just enriched that decision much more. And then you couldn't be on my campus and not have respect for alphas. I mean, right now, the Alpha Omicron chapter, we're going into our 99th year since we were chartered. Shout out to the brothers. And we are raising $100,000 to endow a scholarship in the name of Rufus Patterson Perry, Dr. Rufus Patterson Perry, who happened to be one of our charter members, but also he happened to be one of the presidents of Johnson C. Smith University. And they called him the Master Builder because he doubled our endowment, doubled the faculty and staff, erected 7 of the buildings that are still on campus to this day, and the science hall was named after him, which ironically we probated in the pit because we're alphas, and maybe you know something about the pit if you know what I'm talking about. But the pit was at Rufus Patterson Perry Hall. So it just the history on that campus alone was enriched. I mean that Lionel Newsom also had a building named after him on our campus. He was a president and also a figure in Alpha Phi Alpha, large lumen figure in Alpha Phi Alpha. So on our campus alone, outside of the individuals who I was classmate with, the guys who I looked up to, the campus itself was an erection of Alpha Phi Alpha. And then you go to the larger things, MLK, Thurgood Marshall. I want to be great in that sense. I thought I wanted to play football, but I also wanted to be a judge and an Air Force pilot. Like, I wanted to be great. It wasn't just, I don't want to just be entertainment great. I wanted to be great. Those guys were great. You know what I mean? I wanted to be like that to some extent. Influence the world, change the world. So when I looked at those names, of course, I mean, there's no other choice you can make. And it didn't just stop there. I mean, there were many other names of people who would touch my life in college, like Shaka Fatah and other people who I got to know or know of and look up to and admire and respect in college who were alphas. So they were blazing the trail, past, present, future. And to me, there was no other decision. I never considered anything else.
I love it. And one of the things I love about you, LeVar, is that, I respect you as a brother, is that, like, I could tell of that and of being a part of an organization like that at the core of you are you. Yeah. So I want to rephrase, like, how do you feel like Alpha didn't change you? Or any organization didn't change you, it enhanced you. Because I think it just magnified the amazing person you are. I love how before we even jumped on the podcast, you were like, Phil, you're Phil. And I was like, I'm going to be Phil. And then I think through Alpha, I think I'm still Phil,
Yeah.
but I think it just magnified my extroversion and talking to people and all that stuff. So how do you feel like it didn't change you, but just magnified maybe some of the drive you had, or maybe some of the things you were already just going to do anyway?
Well, let me tell you, my dean thought that my line we were the worst Neos ever because we didn't party hop. we didn't wear Nelly. We wasn't bolsterous. We weren't out there. When we crossed, we were who we were. My ace Quan, he was who he was, and he went back to being who he was. And we love him. We respect him. And when we with him, we in his world. Everybody who knows my tail Tyreek, West Philly, he don't talk much. He ain't talk much then, he don't talk much now. You know, he's about action, and we all, which was ironic, we were all finance majors. So
Okay.
we're from 3 different parts of the world. Quan's from Queens, Reek's from West Philly, I'm from Raleigh. We were all the same, just from different places. All finance majors, well, business majors. We all pretty much concentrating in finance.
Getting money.
We all took that seriously.
Yeah.
But we was about having fun and being outside of class as well. But in class, we took it serious, and we weren't scared to be the guy who asked questions and wanted to know what the answer was, wanted to be smart, and we weren't the guys who had to be the coolest. You know what I mean? We were who we were, and you know, I was a super neo for about a semester.
What's about super neo? Super neo means you like wore like what, like three things of paraphernalia? What's
Nah. I was always too cool for that. Always too cool. First off, you listen. Walk around John C. Smith, you want to with more than one piece of Nelly on. You getting something taken off involuntarily. No, we we went hard. We clubbed. You know, we went to the parties. You know, we did that for about a semester, but yeah, it was back to reality for me real quick because I wasn't raised like that. I wasn't reared like that, and honestly, that ain't me. And you know, I'm not the type of person that can live an inconsistent life with who I am. Like, I can't be phony. I can't be fake because that's not me. I don't care enough to be like that. I can't be amped because I'm not an amped person. You know, I might give you some inflections in my voice, but I learned that from my father who's a pastor. In real life, I'm even keeled. Everybody knows that. I don't sway too much left or right. I'm pretty cool and calm. You know, when the funerals happen, everybody's looking at me like, "Why aren't you crying more?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, listen, I'm celebrating their life, so I try to look positive, outlook at things, and I've got my own perspective, my own foundation. I was who I was before Alpha. Alpha didn't make me, and it can't make anybody, and the fraternity, sorority can't make you. I will tell you what Alpha did for me. It harnessed my purpose in a direction of another 100, 200,000 brothers who I believe the purpose that we have, making the communities that we live better, I believe in that. I believe in that mission. Mm-hmm. So that, yeah, I could never have changed up because it's just not me. Like, I can't do that. I don't fake. So I don't know.
So you've been in there quite some time. You've been involved quite some time. How has either the organization changed since you've been in, or how have you changed? And you can pick either one of those questions.
Man,
like,
I'll tell
like
you.
how either or.
Yeah.
And change is inevitable. Change happens, but like, how do you roll with that change?
I'll tell you how it's changed. I mean, you know, the crazy thing is, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was a Neo 16 years ago, you know, my old heads, we was the whack Neos. You know, they tell us, so we got girls, we did this, we ran the yard, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, I caught myself, like, 10 years later, like, man, y'all whack Neos. We got girls, we ran the yard. I was like, oh, I become them, you know.
Yeah.
So as much as I like to say it changed, it stayed the same. Every era of Alpha has a new stamp on it. My young guys now, I watch them party hop. I can't do that. Mm-hmm. That ain't what we did. I was like, listen, knees wasn't made like that. You know, we stepped, we didn't dance. Matter of fact, I don't think we barely whistles were just coming around. It was brand new.
All right.
Ain't nobody let go that far in the air. The whole
high kick. You didn't do that?
No, there was no high
Damn,
kick back then. There was no high kick back then. We was training back then. We did the training, like Alpha train, old school. So yeah, I mean, the fraternity doesn't change. It's just that the new generation, who's the most vocal, and the most seen. Well, actually, the older generation is always the most vocal. The younger generation is the most seen because we all watching them. We all watching them. They talk about how they don't do it like we did it.
Yo, I never thought about that concept. Like,
Oh, yeah.
the younger people, social media, all that, they're
yeah.
the most seen.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, if you talk to they're the oldest, the most vocal.
They got the most opinions. Ain't nobody good enough for Alpha. And you know what? I'm falling into that category where nobody's good enough for Alpha. I said that just means I must be getting old because when I came through, none of us good enough for Alpha. And now, my dean's he just finished a TED Talk.
Yes,
My ADP, he's the head of I think the independent music at Apple Music right now.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Like, we were good enough. We were good enough, but it's just, to them, and then now it's just like, man, what do y'all do? What y'all about? So it's not changed. They just got a new stamp on it. So I don't give them too much slack. And how's Alpha? How have I changed in Alpha? I would say that I'm more in tune with the work than I've ever been. I'm learning day by day that I've got to earn these letters, and I'm not content just being an Alpha. The older I get, the more I become introspective about the guys who really came before us and really late. Like, I shouldn't even mention Martin Luther King and Thurgood Marshall's name in this podcast because I know I hadn't touched my purpose like they did. Maybe when I'm gone, maybe I touch my purpose like they did. Maybe then somebody mentions my name, and then I would have earned it. Maybe, but I don't believe in being content with just being an Alpha. I believe in putting in the work, and being a brother. Like, people make this thing a lot harder than they need to.
Yes.
And I will say this: we were a little more brotherly when I got in. Now we scrapped. But we ain't take stuff personal. Because listen,
LeVar, you sounded really like back in my day ish.
No,
but
I'm
it's
just
real,
saying.
like,
I'm just saying. Listen, there's an old AO saying, and if any of these guys ever hear this, they can tell you this true. We'll take it to the grass. We don't do that no more. But that was the saying back then, and we had some old heads threatening to take us to the grass, threatening to slap us, threatening to fight us, and you know what? Guess who we hang with now? Homecoming, them.
Yeah.
And guess what we all do together? Man, you see that young boy pants so tight, and then he got his leg in the air with his whistle. Like, now we all together collaborate. So yeah, it's just weird how this circle goes around. But nah, me personally, I'm not going to change up because I'm still earning my letters every day. This brother of the year ain't gonna make me stop working. This year I'm working harder than I worked last year when I earned the title, and next year I'm going to work just as hard. That's my perspective.
So one, as I know with the enhancement, this doesn't change me, it enhanced me, and I'll be totally transparent. I feel like I became more confident, a better public speaker. My involvement in extracurriculars such as Alpha has made me more of a confident man, and I will also say particularly being around gentlemen like you or being around people that, it's like, wow, these are all professional black men. I need to step my game up. So can you speak to how this has transformed or really enhanced your professional development and your normal 9-to-5 work life?
Oh, yeah. Listen, iron sharps iron, man. Like, listen, you can't be around the group of guys that I'm around in Alpha and complain about having to do one office duty. Like, the guys who I'm aligned with, the guys who I'm going to always have their back are going to be the guys like you. I'm going to be chaplain. I'm going to plan the TRL cares. I'm going to help out with fraternal engagement committee. Like, listen, you go with me any day if you work like that. And guess what I can't do? Complain about oh, I'm already secretary in foundation. Now I got to do EEC. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, and it's going to go off without a hitch, because like I said at the beginning, the guys I saw, the one person equaled 5 units of output. It was 5 of them. The output that 5 of them did, when I looked across the aisle at the other fraternities, one guy did in my chapter. And that's how I was brought into Alpha. We don't need 20, 30 people in our chapter. We got 7, we're going to run the yard, and we're going to have 3.0s plus, and we're going to clown anybody who ain't got it. Because that's what Alphas do. And so I keep that same spirit in Alpha. That Alpha has enhanced me to understand that I can do multiple tasks very well, and that is the standard. That's not an accomplishment.
Okay.
That's the standard.
Okay, like that's
And
what
then
we do.
and then on top of that, I gotta help out in a couple more things. I gotta add a couple more things that I help out. I gotta mentor while I'm doing this. I gotta be a good example, a good brother. I gotta reach out to guys, check on them. How you doing? You know what I mean? I ain't seen you in a while. Just making sure you good. I ain't calling you to see if you gonna pay dues to come to chapter. I'm calling to make sure you good as a man. Like, that's what Alpha has brought out of me. Is because that's the example that I've seen from the guys who brought me in, and that's the example that I try to display. Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to start naming names, but I got some solid old heads. I'm gonna have to call y'all that. I got some very solid old heads.
So I'll speak to this too then. So like, this is Brother of the Year. This is a real transparent thing. So when you look up to people and you see all these great examples, how do you check what I call imposter syndrome? How do you check? Wow, I look up to people like you, and I look up to others, and I'm good enough to be there. I am confident to be there. I'm skilled enough to be there. How do you currently do that? As you know, I'm gonna say Brother of the Year. How do you like measure or say, wow, this is the standard, and I meet the standard, and I am not lacking. Yeah. Imposter syndrome, basically. Man, how do you combat that?
Easy, because I do my best, and I'm content with that, and that's it. I ain't got to measure up to nobody. That ain't, listen, me comparing anybody else, that ain't gonna happen, because I don't care what you did. I'm happy for you. I congratulate you on your success. I'm genuinely happy for any success of anybody around me, because that's inspiration, that's motivation. But I don't have to measure up to that. My dean got a PhD. I'm not getting no PhD. I dropped out of Georgetown. I'm not even going to finish my master's degree. They sent me a letter and said, you didn't come back and finish these classes. You are no longer enrolled in whatever the school was. MS, whatever. I can't remember. But I'm fine with that. I'm not going to feel disappointed and shame because I didn't finish that one and then he's got that one plus one more. That's not my personal makeup. The resolve is within me, and I go to bed every night knowing that I gave my best as secretary of the foundation. I did my best as EC to try to thoughtfully craft events that I thought could help people. I'm happy with that. I'm happy that I step in and if a brother needs help, all right, I'll help you. What you need. Nobody's showing up at your event, I'll show up. What you need. What time. I'll be there. Like, that's it. I try to do the best I can do, and when it's all said and done, that best just happens to be X amount of output. It's not me trying to be great. It's me trying to be the person who does his best, and in that, I believe that is what greatness is. So I don't ever worry about
fitting in a room or all that.
Yeah, I don't even think about it.
Can we? So mine is Alpha. Let's talk about your the finance world and all that. Like, you don't feel that in the world of business in your natural professional life, because that's what I really want to talk about. And beyond that, Brother of the Year and all that.
Beyond Brother of the Year, I'm the same person. Beyond Alpha, I'm the same person. Yeah. Listen. At my current job, I do the best that I can do. I don't cut corners. I don't cheat. I do the best I can do. When I mess up, I tell people I messed up. I take ownership. I take accountability. You ain't gonna hold it over my head. I don't. And the thing is, I know I work hard enough. I know that I've done enough good things that my intentions won't be questioned
Okay.
because my reputation precedes me in that regard. I also have awards at work that show that as well.
There you go.
I've
Clap,
been
clap,
president's
clap.
council, my fair share amount of time. So I'm not worried about that. I don't even worry about when I go in the room. I'm the only black guy.
And that's I want to speak on that. Yeah.
Listen. White people talk about travel. I travel. Let's talk about travel. White people talk about sports. I like sports. Let's talk about sports. I don't necessarily like golf as much as they do, but I'm learning to like it. Listen, I like smoking a cigar and carrying my flask. I like teeing off. I go out with those guys and I play best ball and I have a great time. So listen, I don't worry about that at all because at the end of the day, when I'm in that room, I know that if I give my best, that I'm worth 5 people in this room.
I love that.
And it don't matter inside alpha, inside work, in life in general. All I gotta do is give my best, and I've seen the results of my best. And all I gotta do is be happy that I gave my best. And guess what happens? Awards come at work. Brother of the Year in Alpha. People asking you to run for this position, run for that position. So I was student body president John C. Smith, not because I wanted to be.
Okay.
I got a call. Someone asked me. They were polling all of the seniors who they thought should be. And he told me the list, and I said, that's a good list. I said, one of those guys should be able to do it. I was like, I don't do stuff like that. I cuss.
Yeah.
I cuss, and I don't take myself so seriously. You know what I mean? I don't give the MLK voice speeches. That's not me. That's not me at all. And he called back and said, would you, I talked to all of them, and they said if you were going to run, then they're not going to run. I told you I don't want to do this. And then something inside of me, after we hung up, said, do it. You should do it.
I love it.
I called him back. I said, I'm going to do it. And he said, okay. And we got to the meeting, to the senior meeting to announce who's going to do what. And one of my good friends was sitting beside me, and she said, I'm going to run for student body president. And he just happened to be sitting there. He said, oh, no, VAR's going to do that. And she said, what position should I run for? I said, finance. And she ran for finance. And she was great at finance. And listen, she would have been great at president. I would have voted for her to be president. She was a great person.
First of all, I love that story because it happens to me now as more and more. It's like that organic, like I wasn't looking for this junk. It came to me, these leadership positions. But I really want to talk about what does that mean? Like, what is that in the core? Is that just mean like, if you were to talk to a college kid or talk to your nieces and nephews, what would you say to them and say, be yourself, work really hard, and magically people will notice and be drawn to you? Like, what is that like?
No,
I'm really curious about that.
Honestly, and this is, I don't speak to my nieces. I got 11.
I don't speak to them
enough like I should. The crazy thing is, the one who I speak to the most is my wife's nephew, technically. I've been, in his life since he was 1, so he gets all of these life lessons. But I'm going to, I've always said it's not going to be a book. It's just going to be like a journal, like lessons. And, like one topic will be lesson on perseverance. And I'm going to talk about time when I had to persevere. And I've got very profound moments in my life where I'm like, that was perseverance.
In reflection,
because you can't tell somebody the secret in the sauce. It started a long time ago. Like I've been driven since I was since as long as I can remember. Like I've been working since I'm trying to think, since before I got in high school. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. I'd stay at my grandmother's house. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. I'd walk to the fish factory, and they'd let me do day labor work. I'd pop the heads off shrimps because you northerners, you inlanders don't like the fact that shrimps have heads on them. And guess what? Fish do as well, but I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah. And they paid me by the pound. And if there wasn't work, my uncle, he would take me across the bridge to my hometown because I'd do it in the next town over. And he'd take me to their fish house. And if they had some work, they let me work. And and I cut grass that summer. And then the next year, I was 14. I got my first real job at Chick-fil-A. And then I moved on to Food Line when I was 16.
Oh, shit.
I haven't been unemployed.
Hey, let's pound it, because I worked at Food Line too.
Yeah.
At JMU.
I haven't been unemployed since I was 14. So I can't tell them, their blueprint. All I can tell them is what I did. And it just so happens that, when you're sincere, when you're genuine, when you work hard, and when you go the extra mile,
You really think?
people do look on you favorably.
I was about to say.
It opens doors for you.
I was about to say, okay, so I agree with all that. So do you think that, like, and this is my other thing, is like, do you think if you just, that's the blueprint, if you work hard, or do you think you have to be like assertive? Because I know a lot of people that work hard and don't get noticed. So like, what's that extra time? Like, working hard, but like, hey, look at me, I'm working hard. Like, because I know a lot of people work hard, but what tips it over to say I'm working hard, but also like, or is it a matter of like, what I tell students, keeping stats on yourself, keeping your data, and all marketing your skill, being able to say, I did this and talk about it. Like, what sets that apart?
That's not my personal story. And you know what? That might not have, that probably would have helped me in some situations, because I feel like there might have been a couple opportunities where I did feel like I was overlooked because I didn't
share.
But I know I got faith, and I know that wherever the outcome was supposed to be, God was going to take me there regardless. I mean, I have deep amount of faith. That's why I didn't mind being chaplain when you nominated me. I cuss, yes I do.
Me too.
But I have a deep belief, very, very deep, and I've always thought to myself, if I just put my best foot forward, if I just, do right, then I'm going to be all right. The outcome's going to be all right. Now, if I had marketed myself better, or because that's professional development, I could stand to do better on that. I honestly get mad when my accomplishments don't speak for themselves. I hate when I have to tell people my accomplishments, when I have to give them my stats. I hate that. Because I don't like bragging on myself.
But it's life, though.
It is.
Life is giving stats. I preach that to all my students about, and I preach it to all my students at George Mason. It's like, keep numbers, keep data, and then have that numbers ready.
Well, it is. And honestly, in my older years, when it's time to humble brag, I don't mind doing it.
Yeah.
I shied away from it in my 20s. Now that I'm almost 40, I don't mind anymore, because, again, my reputation precedes me. People know that I'm humble. Like, I don't care about awards. I don't care about titles. I don't hang my trophies up at the house. My wife hung my Chapter Man of the Year one up somewhere, and I said, take it down. What are you doing? I'm like, we had a nice picture there. You gonna put this up? It was a nice picture, Nobody need to see that. I don't feel like my accomplishments mean anything to anybody else. And why should they? Because, no disrespect, your accomplishments don't mean much to me. I'll celebrate you if you're happy. I'll celebrate your happiness in them. But I'm not celebrating, the award, because the award is not what you shot for. The award was the outcome of all the work. I'm celebrating all the work you put in to get the award. I'm celebrating your happiness because you reach your goal. I'm celebrating everything but that plaque or that trophy. Because regardless if you didn't get that plaque or that trophy, I'm going to celebrate you anyway. If you put in that work and didn't get that plaque or trophy, should I not celebrate you?
So let me rephrase. So what you're saying to me is, like, if I was like, yo, LeVar, I'm nominated for something.
Yeah.
And I go on the stage and I got second. You still celebrating that I got nominated?
I'm celebrating your nomination.
There you go.
I'm happy for you. Listen, when people recognize what you've done, especially when you didn't even have to like humble brag or throw your stats out there, man, listen, that's an award for me internally. Okay. Somebody noticed that I was here busting my butt.
Yep.
When nobody else was. That I stayed late. That I took the time to learn how to do the job well enough to the point where I don't have to ask people. People come and ask me. I am a resource to this team. You need me on this team. My output is just as good or better than everybody else. And when they need help, they don't have to come to the boss all the time. They can come ask LeVar. Because guess what? I did like 10 of those transactions. Like, I can tell you how to do that. No time. I streamlined that process. Here's a term sheet. Here's a memo. Copy that rubric, this outline. It works every time. I've done it so many times. I can do it in, it might, your first time might take you like 6 or 7 weeks, but I can do it in 2 or 3. And if you follow this, see, that to me is what makes me stand out. And it's never been me listing my stats. People knew like, oh, LeVar know what he's doing. And how does LeVar know what he's doing? Because when people out partying, people out hanging out, LeVar is studying. Whatever I'm in, I want to be the best at it. Again, I have internal drive. I want to be the best at it. I want my worth to be 5
times 1. I love it.
So that's kind of how I don't know.
Now where did that drive come from? You have it from your parents. Who was beyond Alpha? Who was that like?
So you wanna know
who was that
something
main? Who was that main like? Yo, this is where I really got that from. Because I say I got a lot of leadership skills from my father.
Yeah.
Watching him and organically, but
so I can say that because my father was a leader. He was a pastor. He pastored, he's pastored a church all my life. Several churches at one time. Now bishop, and he's done a lot of great things. Most importantly, he's done a lot of great things in the community. He's gotten the keys to the city multiple times.
What city you got key to?
Morgan City.
Oh, there you go.
And I think Beaufort. The city I was raised in.
We got to run down there. First of all, random interruption. Whatever. I'm going to LeVar's 100th centennial for his chapter, and I'm going there and I'm acting like I belong there.
Listen, I'll let you hang out on the plots with us. You cool?
Of course I'm going to.
Just call me. Just call me.
No, Fred. First of all, you already know I know Fred. You know that, right?
Yeah, but just come with me, though.
I'm coming there.
Come with me, because I'll vouch for you. Fred might be like, he cool until he start acting up.
I will act up.
Shout out to my dean, but I know him. I know him very well.
You know your dean, you know me.
Yeah, you cool until you start being too Philly. And he's like, oh, hold on.
I know you
got that well.
I'll take him out. But yeah, back to.
But yeah, like, listen. My father was a great example. And then listen, his father, my grandfather, was a great example of how to provide. He was a football coach when we needed a football coach. He was a Boy Scout leader when there was no Boy Scouts. Like, they taught me you do the things that need to be done. You step in and purposefully step in people's lives where you need to step in. Yeah. That's the example that helps me build friendships and relationships. I see where people need people to step in. Like, your personality might be too quirky for some people. Well, it don't bother me.
No.
It don't bother me at all. You know why? Because that's you. It got nothing to do with me. It got nothing to do with me. Like, Phil's going to be Phil. And I'm fine with that. I like Phil for being Phil. I like people who are authentically themselves. So they taught me that example. And then, more importantly, the drive. So when I was at BB&T, I came in through their leadership development program. It's a fast track to middle management. They identify 50 people out of college, out of however many hundred, and they say these 50 people can be a candidate pool for upper level management. So they bring us in. We don't have to go through the branches, but in the course of us doing all that, they mess with your mind a little bit. They take you through all these leadership development programs and seminars and workshops, and one of them was managing leadership dynamics through FAR. It was a program called FAR something, I can't remember. All I know is that they take you out and seclude you for, I forgot how many days. I don't even know if we were supposed to use a phone. I don't remember having a phone. But with a group of people, and they're poking and prodding at your childhood, making you go back to childhood, making you learn those moments where you had those deep-rooted feelings of inadequacy, and try to help you identify what drives you. And it was there that I realized, all right, you know what drives me to work so hard?
Yeah.
When the lights were out.
Yeah.
When we had, God, I put my parents' business out there. When we filled up the bathtub with water because the water was off, and you ain't taking no real shower. You put a little bit of water in the sink and you wash it off. You know what I mean? And you don't flush, number one. You put some in for number two and flush. So, we weren't poor, but we had moments that definitely built character.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
So that is what I learned was a driving factor for me working so hard. But me being the person I am, that was an example I would say of my parents, my mother, my father. My mother's from Chicago. She taught me enough toughness. She knew how to raise young men. She raised us to be young men. She ain't coddle us. Listen, she was loving and nurturing, but she didn't coddle.
You ready? You ready for the world?
So yeah,
the world's real.
Yeah, she taught us the world. My dad taught us, love your neighbor. So we got a little Chicago, we can take it to the grass, or my dad. Come on, let's, you need some comfort. Let's pray. I got a little bit of both of it. Again,
take it to the grass. I love you.
Again, why I can't be head another? Because again, I cuss. Like I will take the grass, or I can pray.
I love it.
So,
and I think if I do that too, I love it. That's my mindset. My dad too is like my fatherhood was like this, and I'm always hitting the bar. Colonel Wilkerson, So we all have that thing. So I love it. But one of the things I was always thought about too, and I've always appreciated you, was your core values of authenticity. That I know how I always stand with you. Yeah. There is no question that even as goofy as I am with my mustache that look like it don't really is a mustache, it's just hair above my lip, that you keep it real. But at the other end, that I know that you really care for me. Yeah. So talk about your core values. What are some of your core values?
Man, actually, when I lived in Atlanta right after college, I went to Word of Faith, and Bishop Del Bronner, one of the Bronner brothers, he was the pastor there, and they had a very powerful, I don't know if it was powerful, but it was that point in my life where I needed to be there, and I was there. Mm-hmm. And it was a men's ministry Saturday, and he said, an exact man writed it down or something like that. I was like, what are you talking about? Like he used a lot of big words and a lot of wise quotes.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. He made us all write a vision and a mission statement personally. Mm-hmm. And then at BB&T we had core values, and I created my own 10 personal core values.
Yep.
So actually, and up until the time me and my wife got married, I kept that on my refrigerator, and that was 2008 up until 2016. 2015. So, man, was that 7 years? I reminded myself of that daily. I put it somewhere where I would see it every day. Actually, I had a budget for a long time. My personal budget was next to it as well. You remind me of my personal spending.
I remember the budget thing. You told us about that.
Yeah. So those two things were side by side, and I can give you the whole mission statement. It came with a book list. It was 1 year goal, 3 year goal, 5 year goal, 10-year goals, and it's funny because some of that stuff I wrote down, I was like, man, I accomplished 5 year and 3 year, 3 year and 1 year. It's like, it's funny when you focus.
You write it down. I've done that too. I wrote down some stuff. I got to show you my goals. I wrote down some stuff, and I actually am very surprised that by putting it on paper, it came true.
Writing, make an exact man, I think is what he said. I don't know if that was his quote or if that was I'm gonna have to. Oh, it's not his. There it is. Write and make it an exact man. Huh.
Right. It's like if you put it on paper,
make it an exact man. So I don't know who it.
Well, point is, if you put it on paper, it makes it.
Well, he said it ain't a plan unless it's on paper.
Yep.
So boom. Now I wrote. I'm not just winging this thing no more. I've actually got a direction. I had like several businesses that I wanted to open. So there's things I haven't accomplished up there, but that's my next act in life. Like I'm settled into my first act. I'm happy where I am, but I know there's a second act where I've got more to do. So some personal values. Humility is always going to be number one. It's going to be number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 out of 10 because I've been blessed with a lot in life, and it wasn't all material. Some of it was I had just enough charisma, I had just enough athleticism to get in the school to play football. Mm-hmm. Just enough charisma to attract me a fine woman like Bryson Crooms.
There you go.
Just good enough looking that when that cop pulls me over, I'll never get that ticket. That might be God looking out for me. So I don't know. I've got some things going for me, and I know it's a God factor, but I'm humble because I know that my talents, my accomplishments are all rooted in what he gave me. So it's not me personally that people like. You know, I try to live up to the book, and what do you know? People do like the Bible. So selflessness, perseverance, integrity. You know, I'm not honest Abe, but you know, I'm pretty close to it at times. I feel bad.
Yeah, you tell the truth to us.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad because I tell the truth to a T sometimes. Sometimes I need to lie. I was like, Lord have mercy, why didn't you just lie? It's like, no, I wouldn't have felt right. It's like, but you would have had so much. It's so much more expedient right now, LeVar, if you'd have just lied. Now you got to explain, and whatever. But humility is always number one. Selflessness, perseverance, servanthood. People say ministry. I call it service or servanthood. And I've always found that the people who serve the most are elevated.
I like that.
So I don't have to seek titles. I don't have to seek awards. If I'm humble, if I'm a servant, people recognize that, and they propel you to leadership. You don't even have to seek it. So,
dang, LeVar, you know what? I mean, I feel like I do a part two, but you know, I always try to keep my podcast to an hour.
Is it an hour already? Damn.
Nah, man, we can go hard and hard. So, with that being said, you know, this is the part of the show called Shot for Shot.
Okay.
You get to ask me any random question. I ask you any random question. You will go first, I'll go first. Has nothing to do with this subject or anything, just a random question.
Seinfeld Friends.
Okay. You want me? That's my first.
Yep.
First of all, Seinfeld, yes. Random life happenstance. Friends, I never liked. I've always hated on it. Ain't no black people that they have on that show. They live in New York.
Was.
Nah.
Old girl from
No.
From MTV, Tyler,
not good
tall,
enough.
thin. She was Ross's girlfriend.
Yep, one season, not good enough. And Seinfeld feels like it matches my my vibe. I just didn't like Friends. I don't get along with it. I will watch both, but Seinfeld clearly. So now here's my random question.
All right,
you ready?
I'm Friends over Seinfeld, by the way. Oh well.
Womp.
How many of us?
No.
It seems like
I think we do a pool. I think mad people think it's whack. Okay, so it has nothing to do with it. Football. You played running back.
Yes.
I want to hear in this question, this shot for shot. It's actually a two-part. One, tell me your favorite high school or not high school, favorite football moment that you participated in, like you, whatever, 1,000 yards, whatever you did. And the second one is, why do you like the Carolina Panthers, and what do you expect them to do to be better in the future? So it's kind of a two-part question.
You want to know my favorite football memory?
Yes.
It's actually not a playing memory. I mean, I've had games where I scored 3 touchdowns. Like, you know, I could be happy about stuff like that. It was a moment. It was after spring ball my freshman year. I redshirted my freshman year, and after spring ball, my coach, you do an exit interview before the summertime, and it was a great memory. It was probably a damning memory now that I look at it. He told me, he said, you know, you really could go to the league if you really keep trying, you really keep working hard like this. And it released me because I had this internal drive to go. What did I tell you? Football player, Air Force pilot, judge. Yeah. I still might go back to law school. My vision and my body makeup. I'm not going to be an Air Force pilot unless they start doing drones. So then I can fly that maybe. But it released me from this thing. Like, I had a middle school coach who, when I told him I wanted to go to NFL, he said, "Has anybody ever told you you're full of beep?" And from that point on, I said, "Ooh, got him. I'm going to the NFL now. I'm going just because." And what I learned was, I loved the game of football, but once I got to college, the game of football was the work of football. Mm-hmm. It was a job, and it wasn't as fun. I liked the game, the memories of the game when I was a kid. I didn't like the fact that it was robbing me of my college experience because I paid for my college. So when my coach said that to me, it's like it released me from something. Like, the need to prove the other coach wrong, because that coach had actually coached in the NFL. My middle school coach, he was just,
coach,
exactly. Yeah, he was 5'0" nothing.
He was pouring shrimp off the head.
Yeah.
He was pouring shrimp off the head.
So when he said that, it actually kind of released something from me. And it helped me move on to start doing the things that eventually got me to this seat. If I kept playing football, I'd have did well. But when I played football, I had a 2.8. When I stopped playing football, I had a 3.2. Because I was still working. I had to pay for school still. But yeah, it opened a whole new life, and I got to enjoy college at that point, and I got to be. I got to lose the whole jock image. Like, I was very smart. I was considered academically gifted. And as a kid, I was, whatever that pool is, I was in that talent pool. But somewhere along the line, I became so focused on playing football that I forgot that, hey, you actually are kind of smart. You should do a little better. And then it wasn't until I started paying that bill every month in college, I was like, oh, yeah, you need to study, brother. We ain't getting no 2.0, no 1.0s when you paying $16,000, whatever the balance was after financial aid. So that's my favorite football memory. And let me tell you, that spring ball, that year during spring ball, man, I was possessed. They literally started lining me up at running back at some point to see if I could actually play tailback during the game. And like, yeah, if you keep it between the tackles, I ain't running no sweeps. But I was fast. I was decently fast, especially for my size. I mean, I probably played about 240. The fastest I was ever timed for 40 was 4.6. So that's decent speed for that size. So they called me Bettis, Jerome Bettis. And it just so happened that my number was 36, so it made it easy for them to make that connection. Plus, I was light skinned, a little rounded, and I had the chin strap like him back then. It wasn't the whole beard. So they called me Bettis. As a matter of fact, I bet a couple of these guys don't know my real name still on the team.
AKA like my man Doo-Doo.
Boo Boo?
Boo Boo.
Boo Boo. Oh no, I know Boo Boo, Rashad. I know Boo Boo real name. Rashad, funny guy. Him and Pete, R.I.P. Pete. They were a duo, a tandem. They kept us rolling. But yeah, that was my favorite football moment. And Panthers, man, we back at square one. We gotta get rid of this Sam Darnold guy. I'm seeing rumors that we're going to enter the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, which is, I think, a terrible mistake. I'd rather just get Jimmy Garoppolo, somebody who can be even killed, or try to get Tua off of Miami if they're going to trade him. If they're trying to get off Tua, let us get Tua. Houston's okay with Tyrod. They don't want Tua. We'll take Tua. He might be an upgrade from old Sammy. But yeah, I predicted 9-8 at the beginning of the season. If Christian McCaffrey don't come back soon, it's going to be 8-9.
There you go. Hey, better than Skins.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right.
We'll see. I think we will be 2 games better.
Hey, what's your question for me?
Question for you. What is one? What's the one thing that you would say you've learned about yourself in being an alpha?
So, Derek, I love it. The one thing I've learned is similar to that part of not changing who I am, but enhancing who I am. As I've entered rooms or been in more accomplished rooms of brothers such as yourself and people, I realized that I do have skills and strengths that are innate to myself that I don't want to say I took it for granted, but that's just who I am. Like being able to have conversations with anyone, or be that guy that doesn't take himself so seriously. So what I would say is that what I've learned is that my strengths have only been magnified. I give a lot of credit to my my current success at Mason to Alpha. Now, would I have been as successful I was at the work that I do? Maybe not. I don't know. Like I still connect with students. I still outgoing. I still talk a lot. I'm still that random guy that walks around campus and like, who's that guy that's always walking and just like, I my quirks and all that. But I will believe that through Alpha, I've gotten a lot of confidence in regards to things where like situations where I was like, man, this would have been normally difficult, but it was cake.
Yeah.
Like for instance, a hard interview.
Mm-hmm.
And having to speak in public, and
you've been in a hard interview before.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I was saying to someone earlier, I was like, well, at least in this situation, I get nonverbals. Like someone will shake their head and smile at me. Mm-hmm. I've been in a room where people just looked at me stone cold, and they didn't want me to they looked scary as hell. Yep. So I think I believe that Alpha has just really enhanced my public speaking, my confidence, and my ability to show up when times are hard.
Yeah.
And I will say this is random. I know other people say this, and I don't know if they're just saying fraternity talk, but when it is really hard, I do actually quote poems to myself, and I actually, when it's really, really hard and I'm really having a hard time, I say time. And we don't have to say that early.
Yeah,
we don't have to go into detail,
okay.
But I actually, I randomly say it to myself, and I repeat it word for word what time is, and what it does for me. It's almost like meditation. It brings me back to the present. But they always talk about bring yourself to the present. Yeah. So I mumble it, and I can literally do it, and I say it, and I look at the actual time it is, and it brings me to no matter what it is, this moment, right now, this is the present moment. And my wife is you're literally mouthing it. I will mouth it to myself
okay.
And so what I've learned is other skills of bringing myself to the present, but I've also learned about resiliency, and I'm more confident. I really do believe in myself. Yeah. And I will add to that, dude, one thing that's really, really, really been helpful, and mine is alpha or not, I really believe that being surrounded by professional black men of accomplishment that are doing things has really not lowered, but also built a network around me. It was no matter what, I will walk into a lot of rooms where I'm the only black male. Mm-hmm. I'm the only black male in hired, but I'm not the only black male killing it.
Yep.
I'm not the only black male in a suit. I'm not the only black male that is in this sector of finance or this. I literally now can just not these Martin Luther Kings. I can actually start spitting off people that I know in my life. Oh yeah, I got a man in finance. Oh, I got a man in doing that. Yep. And by me even just saying that in my mind, oh, I got a man that does that. A man I know that does that. Just lowering the stigma, that has really made me more confident.
Good.
Think about that. Can you we can literally name anyone in any industry and not go. We don't have to go all the way to famous people.
Yeah.
Whatever. We just go to someone I literally go. That's my man.
Yeah.
Oh, I need someone with real estate. Got him.
Yep.
I know a lawyer. Got him. That's really.
That's what this thing is about.
Confident. That's confident building.
Yeah.
Right there. Just knowing that you got people.
Yeah, that's what's
so, I love that. Well, LeVar, this actually has been one of my top podcasts. I might even not even wait. I was going to do a season 5 or 6. I might just drop this on Friday. I'm so excited. But LeVar, this is it. This is the end of the episode. This is the part of the show I call shout outs and plugs. So I don't know. I don't know if you need to do it in your phone or whatnot.
Oh man, hold on.
So So shout outs. Shout out anyone you want to shout out.
Yeah.
Anyone. Anywhere in the world. And then plugs. Plugs are any social media or any way that people can follow up with you or whatever you feel comfortable with. Oh, yeah. Shout outs and plugs. Stage is set. Yours.
Oh well, I'm real simple. I ain't fancy on social media. My plugs, my email, my social handles, all that. Just my name, LeVar Crooms, LeVarCrooms. That's how you gonna find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Gmail. Anything of contact wise. It's always my name. I don't go fancy. I'm not that clever sometimes. Man, shout outs. Oh, that's easy. First, got to start with my wife, of course. I'm on this podcast because I'm Brother of the Year, but it's because she has been very supportive of my endeavors. She's a great helpmate. She's a great co-pilot, co-CEO, and I'm very appreciative of her. And then my parents, of course, they raised me to be me. They never told me, why can't you be this? Why can't you be that? I don't have a childhood filled with those memories. I have a childhood saying, LeVar is this, LeVar is that. And that's it. So, very grateful for my rearing. Very grateful to Beaufort, North Carolina, to all my family down there. That small town mentality, I'm going to keep that for the rest of my life. People always say I have a southern sweetness or a country drawl that brings people in. Well, I'm super appreciative of you, 252, for that. And then I'm also grateful for all my friends and family in Raleigh and Charlotte, North Carolina, where I grew up. Very appreciative of Johnson C. Smith University. Took a chance on me when a lot of other colleges wouldn't. Made me into a man. I met some great people who inspired me, even to this day. Shout out to the greatest chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha in the world, chapter key 36, May 4th, 1923. You know, we are the mother chapter of the Carolinas, the arrogant AO chapter, as we would call it. Shout out to all my guys, especially they were around who really took a liking to me, who put things in me. I remember I had one of the toughest situations in my life, and I can't remember who I was talking to. It might have been my pro fight, Keith. I can't remember who it was, but he said, call Vince. There's another one of my pro fights, and Vince hooked me up with a doctor, took care of the situation. Man, let me tell you, like, they were down for me in life, and I will forever be grateful to all you guys. 90s, 80s. I'm now meeting some of the 70s, you know. They're keeping me straight on this 100 planning call. Definitely shout out to my pro fights who were in the chapter, who made me, who brought me in. You know, they've stood by me for all these years, corrected me when I was wrong, chastised me when I need to be chastised, but big up me when I need to be bigged up. I'm very appreciative of them. And then, last but not least, these brothers of Theta Rho Lambda. You know, I've been in Alpha now in Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, and DC. Theta Rho Lambda is the first chapter that's felt like home outside of my home chapter. I am forever grateful to you guys for being a group that pulls you in. You start off a little cold.
Now, Philip.
People don't really talk to you that first meeting or two.
Now, Philip.
As shout out Dr. Hui, we talked about this this summer on the porch. She's like, yeah, you know, this first couple meetings, you know, people weren't really running to talk to me. But you know what? That quickly changed. The next thing you know, I'm on committees and I'm working. You know,
hey, not Philip Wilkerson. Philip Wilkerson will talk to anybody early.
That's true. That's true. But no, you guys have made me feel like I've got a home away from home. So I'm forever grateful to chapter key 293, to the first chapter in the Northern Virginia area. Start this thing off. You know, it was only fitting that I left the first chapter in North and South Carolina to come to the first chapter in Nova. So I feel right at home with that in general, but I'm appreciative, and I will look after this chapter like it's my own until my time in Omega. So that's all the shout-outs I got. Love you, Shia. Love you, Mom, Dad. To my brothers, my nieces and nephews, I hope you hear this, because this is all the stuff I don't say to y'all that I should. And to all my frat brothers, past, present, future, 1906.
Dog, first of all, LeVar, I don't know. You see me cheesing. This has probably been one of my favorite episodes to record. Awesome. What I would say with that is that, you know, I've already looked up to you off the break, and just full authenticity on the podcast. You know, Baggy is mad, but not mad, but you know what? I'm stuck. You stuck with me. You stuck with me. all of me, and you know that. And I knew that I met a very special brother. Yeah. When I met you, and I met a very special person and someone I actually look up to, and I think you're doing great things, and I just hope I make you proud. So, Positive Filter listeners, thank you so much for listening to this episode. This has been a great one. I hope you learned something. I've learned something, definitely. And please share this episode with your family and friends. The Positive Philter hotline, which no one uses, but if you want to, is 571-336-6560. That's 571-336-6560. You can leave a voicemail. I probably sometimes will put it on the podcast, but I have no voicemail, so it don't matter. And keep on listening to all the episodes. It's Positive Philter on all the different platforms. And thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day. We're out. Thank you for listening to Positive Philter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity of Movement. Thanks for listening.